morning. CreativLEI is back with Love Your Lettering. I know you guys have been waiting. Thank you for those of you that have found this on the replay or are watching it at the bottom of the instructional post. I so appreciate you being here. If you are catching the replay and are able to give hearts, I definitely appreciate that and sharing this broadcast. Hi, Marcy. Welcome. Thank you guys for coming on in. Fix Family 5. If you would like to introduce yourself, I would certainly like to know your names. I know that many of you know me. You've been waiting for me to get back from the 2-to-1 conference. I'm back. I'm safe. I'm back at home. Hi, Janet. And we're going to dive back in. I got on earlier today to double check with you guys to see whether you wanted to go head back to the lessons that we missed or if you wanted to tack those onto the back to catch. No cookies tonight. I would like some cookies, but I'm trying to be good. I was away on vacation and I did stay pretty good, although I ate good food. So anyway, yeah, no snacks because my hands are going to be busy because I'm going to be showing you letters. For those of you that might be here for the first time, my name is Lisa. I blog at Looking at Life Creatively, which is creatively.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at CreativLEI. So we've been venturing together this October for 31 days to love your lettering. And it's been a fun journey so far. We're about halfway through, which is exciting to me because I feel like we've come a far way. We started at the very beginning with basic handwriting. Hello from Indiana. I'm here in very chilly Maryland. We are in frost connection. Oh, you've lost connection. Hopefully it's, mine may be spotty. I don't know. I haven't been on too much today. I've been trying to get stuff settled back at home. Hopefully it's okay. Nancy from Oklahoma, hi. I'll finish the rounding up the introduction. So where we left off, the last lesson that I did for you live was with using the calligraphy pen for print writing, which was kind of it was a challenge because to learn how to hold the calligraphy pen and not let the nib of the pen change angles definitely takes some getting used to. And Bridget Ann's from Oklahoma too. Hi, Robin. Excuse me. And so thankfully, lots of you were very, very encouraging that it was going to be okay to take a couple days off because you guys were checking. Go ahead and repeating some of your back lessons to get that angle. I might lose this broadcast. I just got the storage warning. Hi, Amy. I'm glad you're here. So I feel like I'm a little off tonight because it's the first night getting back into routine. Does anybody else ever have that problem when you're trying to get back into routine? Everything just seems a little, tweaked. So I have the Italic Calligraphy samples in front of me. I know you do not have the blog post yet. It should be up later tonight with a link that I'll share with grid paper. If you don't have a grid paper pad for the slant grid, I don't use it anymore, but I know it could be helpful when starting, and so there's free places to print those pages. I do have some of those printed out in front of me, and I have a slanted grid sheet. I need a vacation from my vacation. Yeah, a little bit, because I didn't sleep very much. Amy, Polka Dot Swishes, and I were roommates with 2 other ladies. We had an absolute blast, but we were kind of going the whole time we were gone. So it wasn't really a vacation. It was definitely a working vacation. But if those of you that hadn't tuned in this afternoon, you found out that the reason why none of the posts went up this weekend is because my laptop that was supposed to be with me in the Outer Banks was actually here in Maryland. It never made it into my bag, which I didn't find out until I got there. So everything was just kind of a wash. I know, it's ridiculous. I packed everything, including the mouse, and left the laptop on the desk. Oh, don't hate brown hearts. I like them because I think they are coffee and chocolate. So that's all good things. You bought 2 detail paintbrushes for the brush calligraphy and Japanese sumi dip ink. That is fancy. I'll be using a brush marker because I think it's a good introductory tool for people that want to learn brush lettering because there is a little more forgiveness in the brush pen. So if those of you that are tuning in thinking that we're doing brush lettering today, I am sorry, but the overwhelming response was that people wanted to finish up with the calligraphy pen before we moved on to the brush pen. So we'll be doing the brush pen a little bit later this week. Everyone wanted to keep going in order, which I can completely understand. I was just trying to figure out the best way to help all of you, because you guys have put in a lot of time so far and a lot of effort, and I want to keep going and keep seeing you guys succeed, because the samples you've been putting up have been wonderful. I know that some of you don't think so, but I think that you're showing lots of progress, and I'm watching your confidence build because, hey, you're confident enough to share them and to appreciate your own lettering, which is great. Yeah, going in order is a good idea, especially because they do kind of build on each other. When I originally planned out the series, that was my intent, to have the techniques, even though the pens switch, the techniques actually build upon each other to make the next lesson make sense. So it was helpful to stay in order, but I was trying to figure out the best way to do that. So you haven't seen the sample pages yet. This course has brought you so much happiness. Jen, that is such a blessing to me. This has been so much fun. And Robin got complimented on calligraphy that was seen on your page. That is awesome. And if I had 2 hands free, I would applaud for you. That is awesome. Like, I like to see you guys putting up your pages and then your friends just praising the work that you're doing, because it really is beautiful. I know that you can pick out the little imperfections, because I can certainly do that for my lettering. But when someone else sees it that doesn't have this skill yet, they're looking at you with admiration, and that's an awesome thing for you guys. And I'm appreciating being kind of on the back end of that. I feel like I'm just teaching you a little bit, and you're adding your own flair and flavor, which is exactly what I hoped for with this course. So this makes you wish you would have known about this and started it. Oh, you may certainly start at any point. All the past lessons are up on the blog. People have been sharing their pages on Facebook and Instagram. All the past lessons are still up on the blog. This course will remain free. I might move it over to a page that has a subscription option. That way you can keep in touch for, not necessarily because you want all the blog posts, but that you want to be kept in the loop anytime a lettering event comes up, or special lettering posts. You're looking at my blog right now. I have it open also, just in case I've missed something. Yes, everything is on Catch, but those Catch videos, including this one, all get embedded into the day's assignment that they correspond with, especially because this is working as the live demo of whatever technique we cover, which has been awesome. Number one, I will say that you guys are like rocking those hearts, which I know as soon as I pick up the pen and you guys start to get to work, that's going to drop off, and it's totally okay. I love when you guys do it, but if you don't do it, I know that you're here and I know that you're working, and that is awesome, because that's why you're supposed to be here. Especially because I didn't give you this page earlier, so you guys haven't worked on it all day, unless you have, because I know many of you have been on Pinterest pinning lots of lettering ideas to lettering boards, which I think is fabulous, because I can see that you're getting inspiration, and even when I didn't assign homework, I got tagged in people's homework, which is awesome, and it just kind of makes me it makes me really happy. And also, so I'm going to flip the camera. I'll put you guys in the tripod and we'll get to work. And I do have parallel pens in front of me. Someone, and I didn't write down the name, and I don't have that page open. I think it was, What Do the Hearts Do? They definitely are making the video prettier. The hearts are just a way of those that are listening in the chat, or that are listening into the broadcast. If you like what you see, or if you are getting a good connection, it just kind of lets the broadcaster know that people are still listening. So, like, I know that if all the hearts die down, then I know that probably my connection is freezing, so I might need to restart the broadcast. But since this is kind of a hands-on course, and while I'm instructing, many of you are practicing, I don't always expect to see hearts, and I usually will not ask for them. I do appreciate those of you that add them because it is a nice reminder that people are listening. Thank you. And those of you that are inviting people, that has been a blessing too, because our group has grown a lot as we've gone through the month. And then of course it was hard, it was hard to go away this month. I had a lot of travel planned before we kicked off this series. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out. Someone had mentioned that their parallel pen arrived today, but they were having problems getting the ink to feed through. But I went on to Mommy Scopes instead of my page. Amy is the Polka Dot Swishes is the host of Mommy Scopes, which a lot of you have found me through there, which has been wonderful as well. Nancy, there you are. I was just looking for your name. So yes, I do have my parallel pens in front of me, and that's going to be the first thing that I do after I show you the sample page that I have. Okay, so this is Italic Calligraphy, and the best way for me to describe it is like the comparison of print versus script. So I'm going to flip back a little bit. So this was my print page, and you see I mostly just wrote straight up and down, very similar to how I write with a regular fine point pen or pencil. And so with Italic, you're getting that slant that you had with script. So this is the sample, and these will be up hopefully between tonight and tomorrow, because I know you guys are going to want to see these while you're working. So I've got the lowercase up top, I've got the capitals down on the bottom, and then we've got more capitals, and then putting together some words, and then I was doing some variations of letters, because I know that that's something that you guys have always appreciated through this series, is seeing like how to vary those things. And I know a lot of you guys do it on your own too. And then that's the next day's lesson. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I will slip you guys into the tripod. And have we decided, is it best to be in landscape while we do this? And you'll have to forgive me, I haven't used the tripod in a few days. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Tripod's going to be a little finicky tonight. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't collapse. So this is the parallel pen disassembled. Well, there's two here actually, or mostly two. Is that okay? Are you guys able to see? So this is the parallel pen. Landscape is good? Excellent. Parallel pen is two metal plates where the ink feeds through them, and this broad, sorry, I'm not even in front of the camera. So there's two metal plates where the ink feeds through, and it provides a flat, broad nib or point, pen point. So this is a slanted grid paper found at printablepaper.net, and this link is on the blog post that will be coming up. And so let's see, I have to switch positioning a little bit. So this was just printed on the home printer. Alright. So, oh, thank you. So putting together this pen, it's actually a few different little pieces. It's the barrel, the nib, this little piece, which is part of the nib. So this goes in here, and it just kind of pushes in. It's in there with friction. And this is a preloaded ink cartridge that comes with the Pilot pens. And you just push this in until you feel a pop, or you can see that the seal is kind of broken. And so that's going to allow the ink to flow down through the barrel. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was up way too late the night before I left for the 2-to-1 conference putting on my henna, but I wanted to be adorned before I went. Okay, so now this pen has all been put together. It's going to take a little bit of work to get the ink down initially. So I just have scrap paper. I know, I do still need a henna scope. I was supposed to receive henna while I was away, and it didn't arrive on time. So I'm waiting for another order, and then we will do a henna scope. How do you know? Wait, how do we show you how you're doing? One way to do that is to share your pictures of your practice. I'm sorry, I'm going to just, while we're chatting, I'm getting the ink started on this, and it's just a matter of dabbing a little bit until the ink starts to flow down. So now I've got some ink down. So this is my scrap paper, and this is the slanted grid. And then once you share on Instagram or the CreativLEI Facebook page, you can tag that item with "love your lettering," because many of us have been using that hashtag throughout the month. So then we go and we check it because we love looking at everyone else's work. So on this lined paper, you see you've got the slants that are equidistant across the whole page, but you'll see that we've got a wider and a narrower line between. So this is your X line is here. So it's your minuscule or lowercase letters are really going to take up this space, and these are room. This becomes room for your ascenders or your descenders. So I'm not going to stop at the top, start at the top of the page, because I want to be sure that I stay where you can see me. And so now the difference is that instead of holding the pen so that I'm going to be working straight, I'm going to be working with that slant that you typically would when you're working in cursive writing. And instead of keeping the letters real straight, you're allowing your hand to flow a little bit more. And you're starting at that with the nib about 45-degree angle, so that you get the thick and thins as you shape the letters. And some of these will connect with the tail, and some of them won't. It depends on what type of letters are next to each other. So I'm going to skip the next line. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk while I'm writing, because I'll end up writing what I talk instead of what I need to be writing. So the Q, there's a few different variations. You could go straight down and bring that tail out, but it's not very pretty. So another way to do it would be to start with the O and make the tail come out that way, which is just, it's more visually appealing, if you ask me, which some of you will. Because that's one of the letters that often gets asked for demonstration. And S is going to look very similar to when we printed, except that we're going to be working at an angle, and we're going to make that very kind of a voluptuous S, if that phrase works for you. And so the T, I'm not going to bring all the way to the capital line. I like the T to remain smaller, since it's usually next to an H. So this is basic, this is basic italic. Gothic is a little bit more fancy. We are not going to cover that in this handwriting course. I'm going to go down again. Let me make sure. So now the W, I work my broad strokes first. W, and then I come back and kind of fill that in backwards. And then X, working the broad stroke first, and then the bottom one, and then sometimes I will add a little bit of flourish to that, but we're going to talk more flourishes in a couple days. X, we've got our Y, and the Z. There's two ways to do the Z. I'm sure there are actually many more than two, but this would be one way for lowercase z, or you could go this way and bring it like that. You could let the tail, the descender, go a little bit more also. So that's a basic lowercase italic alphabet. Sorry, my desk is a little bit cluttered from unpacking. You struggle with the V and the W, and that helped a lot. Yeah, it's the V and the W are basically the same. It's just another added stroke for the W. So you're nowhere near this. You still have chicken scratch. Oh, really, a lot of this is the pen doing the difference. Learning to hold the pen at the right angle so that when you make these strokes, you end up having the thick and the thin letter. If you were to use a flat nib pen, similar to how you use a ballpoint, you would kind of be twisting all around, and then you would lose the contrast between the thick and the thin. On CreativLEI, this lesson isn't accessible, at least not for you. It will be very soon. Yes, I am just getting the pictures up onto there, and then I'll feed this video onto there as well. It's just that getting back last night after not having the computer all day, it just was not, I wasn't able to finish the editing. I'm sorry. But I know that you guys appreciate the live demonstration even more than just the photographs, so we went ahead and did that. So I have the notebook pages of the full alphabet and uppercase will be on the blog. So so now you've watched the Nancy. Was that good enough instruction for using the parallel pen? Have you gotten the ink to flow through yet? Did you happen to notice how long it took for the ink to start feeding through mine? This pen is the Pilot Parallel pen. The nib, you thought you were looking in the wrong spot. No, you're totally not looking in the wrong spot. I'm just way off my normal schedule. The pen that I used tonight was a Pilot Parallel pen in the 1.5 millimeter. The other one that I have, you love your manuscript set. I do have another cartridge-based set. I just haven't looked for it, and I haven't made sure that these ink cartridges are compatible yet. The parallel pen is very comfortable in my hand. That's 2.4. The other reason why I like the parallel pens is because I'm a lefty, and so normally, I'm going to try and switch this. There we go. Sorry, I'm going to stick you guys back in. The Speedball ink is fine. Certainly for getting started, it's not a bad ink at all. I'm just using the Pilot cartridges right now because that's what I have preloaded in these. So, oh goodness, now I just lost my train of thought. Alright, so this is the lowercase. Goodness, you ladies will have to remind me. I was just going to show you something very specific, and it completely flew out of my mind. Okay, were there other letters that you guys needed to see demonstrated over again? And hopefully, while I do that, it will come back to me. Sorry, I'm probably going to try to push these lettering videos up a little bit, maybe to 10 o'clock. There are refillable cartridges. The ones that I'm using today are not refillable, but these pens do have a refillable cartridge that came with them. Okay, so like I said, this was the paper that I printed offline. Capital H and I, a V and a W. V, W, capital H, capital I, and a 2.4. Yep, so I'm going to use the 2.4 right here on this page. Yes, oh, thank you, Mia, you're so helpful. Yes, the reason why I like this pen as a lefty is because if you noticed, I was pushing the pen like a I think it's a typical lefty move to push the pen, where a right-handed person would be carrying or dragging the pen for you into the right direction, so it allows the ink to flow that way. So if you use a typical dip nib for calligraphy, a broad one, then as a lefty I would not be able to push the tip, or the ink would never feed through. But because this ink is not feeding from a reservoir, it's feeding through these parallel plates. regardless of which direction I pull it, the ink is going to feed. And so it works for me as a lefty without making me hook my hand, which would lead to fatigue. Is that a helpful explanation, hopefully? Do we have any other lefties out there that are trying the parallel pen, or is everyone using the marker? Because that is why I recommended the marker in the beginning, because it is a little more forgiving because you can move the pen in either direction and it will still write. Okay, so I'm going to do a W and a V in lowercase and capital, which you'll see that there's really not much difference. There's V, the W. I will do those two parallel lines first, and then I'll start closing them up. And I'll do M, N. Okay, so the V, the only difference would be you would be starting and going to the cap line. I picked up a little bit there. So it's really, for the capital and the lowercase V and W, it's just a matter of changing the size. Of course, we'll talk about flourishes later in the week and different ways you can do a W. Another way to do a W, which would be, and still kind of be italic calligraphy, would be instead of going straight down, and of course you see there's a V in there too. You can have that, do the V as well. But using it parallel is going to probably be easier to start. So in M, we're going to start with the broad strokes, and then I'm going to close it up. And I got the wrong angle there, but that's something you can fix. So sometimes I'll put a tail over there, and then so you can see the difference with the N, with the broader nib. Do I always lift the pen after a broad stroke before the thin? I tend to, especially with the parallel pens, because the ink is going to flow continuously, and if I leave that pen down, I might have more bleed through than if I pull that pen up. You might be able to get away with that a little bit more with the marker. But then you would also change the look of the letter if you were doing it continuously. So if I didn't want to pick up the pen, I would start down here on the little lead-in or header here. Oh, and I'm still going to pick up. There's an M or an N. I still have to pick up the pen because of the direction of where those letters are coming from. But you could certainly like that. Capital H and capital I. An H would be, and I'm just checking the angle of my nib. Doesn't matter how many squares you take up horizontally, my left brain always wants you to stay in the lines. Yeah, these lines, the slanted lines, are really there to help you maintain the angle, not necessarily for letter width, because your width is really going to depend on what the letter is, whether it's a round letter or has parallel points. That's going to determine how wide your letter should be. So an I do my capital I's like that. You really love how thin the stroke is with the parallel pilot. I know it is, especially of course going from a felt tip to the parallel pen, it does really get a nice a nice tip, because you can also, and when we talk tomorrow about going in with a fine point pen, oftentimes you can have ink feed through at the point of that. So you can really get a fine line if you needed to, which is kind of awesome. So we've got our HI, our WV, our M's. I know I missed a letter. Usually you guys want to see G's. Nobody ever asked for a G tonight. So I'm going to do a G anyway. So there's a few ways that I would do that. Thank you, Nancy. So we go here, we go here. You could leave it like this. Oh, capital P, that was the one I missed. So that's one way to do the G. Or you could just leave it open and bring that stem further up. So there's a G, capital P. So I'm going to start at the top and do that one, and then I'm going to go like that. No, lowercase p is not much different. You love the G? Oh, thank you. And of course, like, I'm wanting to flourish things, but we're going to talk about that in 2 days, so I have to not do that tonight. So some of the letters, as you write them, will end up connecting again, but not all of them. So don't get too caught up in that. The R. So I'll start with the stem, and then I'll come back up here, grab that counter space, and go down. Hi, Star. No, you did not miss the email. It has not gone out because I left my laptop home when I traveled this weekend. Not on purpose, but by pure accident. And so I'm still playing catch up digitally. But I did want to hop on here tonight to get the video done. That way I can just go ahead and embed it into the post. And I have the pages done. I showed those in the very beginning. And so it's just a matter of getting those into the blog post that's been written. So this is the page that I will share with you guys on the blog post. And then, of course, you'll have the video at the bottom of the post, especially now that it's already done. And then you'll have to let me know if you actually prefer this method, if you like seeing the video on the post when you get it. That way you practice with the video through the day. But it just means I would be showing you a technique the day before you start to practice it. So, but I'm flexible. Like I said, this is the first time I've run an online course, especially for a month long. And so I'm definitely open to your feedback and how to make this best for you guys. On your grid paper, you use 2 squares for the taller square on this paper. So let's see. I've got some scrap graph paper. The other thing you can do, if you have taped together, I try to have a lighter touch, but I don't always. Okay, so if you have taped together the edges of your page, then you will notice that you still have an opening at the top. So if you had wanted to put the grid in, what I would do is use a ruler and darken these slanted lines with a Sharpie, and then just fold it in half, and then slip it in. And of course, you're not going to be able to see it on the phone, probably, yeah, but actually you might be able to. So I don't know if it'll focus, but can you see that that slant is actually showing through? If I had done it in Sharpie, I'd certainly see it enough to give me a shadow of a slant to help me with the angle. And so I would certainly recommend that you go ahead and print out a page of the slanted grid. And I do, there we go, I'm going to show you, it's printablepaper.net if you wanted to screen cap that. Printablepaper.net, and they have tons of papers to print, but this is in their section of calligraphy paper, and this is the script guide paper in landscape. And I did like the angle. It seemed to be a very natural angle to use for this italic. They had italic practice paper, but I found that that angle was way too steep. It was closer to copper plate, I think. So hopefully that helps. But again, that link will be on the blog post, which should be out by morning, and hopefully you guys will be back on schedule for your morning emails. So I think that's all we have for tonight. It's after 11. We've been on together for a while. You now have washi tape problems and have washied your cookie sketchbook. Awesome. Oops. I don't want to block anyone. Oh, there we go. It keeps the pages from rolling in. It looks so pretty. I know. I've taped a few different notebooks. I know Michael sells the little Fabriano sketchbooks. I don't know if that's what you're using for cookies. It's that I like to do that because it's kind of a thinner paper, but it's really nice and smooth. And so I'll usually tape the edges of those together. And I have been known to use the washi tape to put in tip-ins to put a sketch paper next to a lined paper in a Moleskine journal. So, yeah. I warned you guys, though. Washi tape was addictive. You can't have just one roll. What with this, my favorite calligraphy pen. Couldn't decide when shopping this weekend. I tend to use a 2mm or the 2.4 millimeter, which is really the Pilot pen. The 2mm is a little on the small side. It's good for envelopes, though. I have been using a lot the 3.5mm to demonstrate for you guys because it's big enough to see easily. Sometimes when you go down on that broad nib, to the 2mm or the 1.5, it might be a little too small for you to really see the difference between the thick and the thin of the stroke. And so that's why sometimes using a little bit of a broader nib will allow you to see that while you're practicing. So if there are any other questions, now you can go ahead and put those in the chat. If I've ended the broadcast while you're still typing, I'm so very sorry. Yeah, so you'll have to catch me tomorrow, but certainly you can add a comment or contact me through the blog or on Facebook, which I know lots of you do, and I really appreciate it. There were so many of you that touched base with me this weekend to see how the conference was going, and that was really awesome. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for answering questions, too. Possible to get the same look with regular pens. Actually, the first day that we used the calligraphy marker, I did show you how to tape together two pencils so that you had those two tips actually create a broad opening for you. And I'll have to look back to remember which video that's in, but I know that it's in one of the catch videos that's already embedded into a lesson. But the basic idea was... Sorry, I'm reaching for pencils. You're very welcome. Thank you, guys. So here's two pencils that I have, and what I did was I made them line up so the points were together and held them, side by side, and then I washi taped them towards the tip. I washi taped them towards the back, and then, yes, of course with washi tape. And then you have yourself kind of a nice broad nib to use for practice. And then that's a good way to play. Also, like if you ever wanted to do a sign or work on a canvas, that's a cheater way of getting a big calligraphy pen without paying for a huge nib, because when you do dip calligraphy, all those little nibs, they add up. It's worse than washi tape. It is worse than washi tape. And the bigger they get, the more expensive they are because it's a lot of metal. So yeah, pencils can be your friend. When we do brush lettering next week, we're actually going to start with pencils again. So that's why you need to have pencils, and any pencils will do. If you have artist pencils that are a little bit softer lead, that'll be excellent too. But if you just have a number 2 pencil, it's fine. I'm going to show you how to do that with both. So that's all I have for tonight. I'm sorry. I'm going to work on getting that blog post, make sure it's published so that you guys get it in your email tomorrow morning. And then, yes, definitely give me feedback. If you prefer to get the email, and have the post already have the video in, or if you do prefer having the instructional post first and then the catch up and at night. I think that that's been working wonderfully, but I'm certainly open to your feedback. So we can always change. This is our course. We're making it up and following what works best for us as we go along to make sure that we end it with victory. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. It's so good to be back with you. I really did have a wonderful weekend at 2 to 1. Thank you, Stephanie. You're welcome. And you too, have good dreams, Mia. It was wonderful to be with my people, but, I missed you guys. I really did. I miss touching base with you every night. And so I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great and blessed